I'm good. My name's Mr. Odom. I'm going to be your career coach today. Hope you're doing well and ready for this. So basically, I just want to get a little introduction right now. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. We are here today as a career coach to help you, guide you, learn more about yourself, and reinforce what you may already know and things you didn't know so that we can get you into the right career path. So, why don't we start and you can tell me a little bit about yourself? And by the way, I will be taking notes during this visit, if that's okay with you.
hmm
I just want to refer back to them as we go along. So,
Okay.
tell me a little bit
Um,
about yourself.
I'm Courtney Martin. I'm 28. I'm from Martinsville, Virginia, born and raised. I'm a country girl. Um, I actually went to high school in Danville and I went to high school in Roanoke. I graduated from William Fleming in Roanoke. And I ended up going off to Emory and Henry to play basketball. End up quitting the team, transferring, and going to Ferrum College. And I ended up playing basketball there, and I graduated there with my bachelor's in social work. Now I'm getting my master's from Ferrum College in psychology. Um, and so I work now. I work two jobs now. I'm in school, and I'm a very, very busy woman. I have a lot going on. I'm over a youth mentoring program that I oversee at the Y, and I'm also a chill advisor, well, chill leader of my students, my group in Franklin County.
Oh, okay. All right. So, let's start a little bit with where you were raised. You say you're a country girl. What kind
hmm
of, what would you say growing up in like elementary and middle school? What was your experience growing up out in the country and then having to switch
Oh,
schools and back and forth?
so it was a lot. Growing up, my dad was a deacon, and he also was a coach. So everywhere I went, I was a coach's daughter, I was a deacon's daughter. So I grew up in church. Um, And growing up as a little girl, I loved outside. I loved outdoors. I definitely was a tomboy.
Yeah.
I loved to be outside. I loved to play in the dirt, in the grass. I did not care. My mom would take me to go get my hair done. I would be cute, and I would go up to my grandma's house and play. And my hair would be messed up, and my dress and my outfits would be messed up. And I just enjoyed outdoors. My dad used to have me helping him cut grass and help with wood because we have growing up we had a wood stove. And just knowing, I was very hands on, like to get dirty. I enjoyed nature. I enjoyed being outside. And that, and luckily the chickens and the cows were gone by the time I was born. So I didn't have to milk any cows
Thank
or
goodness,
mess with
right?
any chickens.
Well, it's interesting. Would you say, being outdoorsy and already it sounds like you enjoy a little bit of hard work. Would you say that and growing up with your church background, did that play a big influence going through school and your interests and
Yeah,
everything?
it definitely did. I was very integrity and honesty was instilled in me at a young age, and with relationships, friendships, school, sports, that's what I live by. I wasn't perfect by all means, but I definitely, I had that background. I had that was instilled in me for a long time, and even today, that's what I stand firm on as well.
Well, that's wonderful. It is definitely something I think we learn as we get older, but we're not all perfect starting out, and
Yeah,
probably not by the time we finish either, but we're going to try.
no,
Um,
definitely not.
you mentioned that you moved from Martinsville and ended up going to William Fleming up in Roanoke. Was that a big change for you?
It it was. Growing up, I went to the county schools in Henry County, and then when I went to GW and William Fleming, well, you probably don't know, but they were city schools, and so it was a shock for me. But not only that, growing up, I've seen it all. With my background, with my race, the black, the white, the Indians, I'm interracial, so it's just like
Hmm,
I knew how to adapt. I could understand from their perspective versus another side, so I knew how to, adapt from city or county,
right.
which helped me a lot because I could fit in and I could get along with anybody. I could talk to, as people labeled them, nerds in school, or I could talk to jocks. I could talk to the emo kids. knew how to talk to people, and I was definitely considered the social butterfly throughout school. So
Right.
it helped me as a person.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's interesting you mentioned, having a multicultural background. Would you say that growing up that would have an influence on how you viewed other people? Did you automatically view people with openness, or did you still kind of have some of those, unfortunately, prejudices that were kind of instilled with?
I've gone through both sides. I remember my boyfriend in kindergarten. He was Caucasian, and I remember, well, he was actually Caucasian and Hispanic, I think. And I remember we used to talk on the phone, well, sneak and talk. We were young,
Yeah.
puppy love. And I remember one day meeting his dad and him telling him, you don't need to date a black girlfriend. I have a black girlfriend, and that stuck with me for years. Not knowing, I have white in me, but you don't see that when you see. Well, you might see, but even growing up being light skinned, how that played a role in my life with brown skinned girls, how they, would say, "Oh, she's yellow, this and that. She gets treated better." Even taking it back to slavery days, that definitely was how light skins were viewed. We were treated better. Um, and I understood that, but I never let that handicap me. I never let it um, help me get ahead. I knew how to be humble about things. And it definitely played a role in, having tough skin or
Right.
making sure I work hard and stuff wasn't given to me. I made sure I worked hard for stuff and nobody could say, you didn't earn that. I earned it.
Right. Well, and in some areas they can be a little bit behind in
Hmm.
understanding and everything, but as a deacon's daughter you're kind of put into the public and interacting with everyone, and so do you think having that multicultural background and the religious background and everything made you a stronger person as you got older and kind of shaped who you are, you think?
Definitely. The way I was raised, we wasn't raised to see color. We was
Right.
raised to see the way somebody their heart was, how somebody acted. Not necessarily acted, but how people treated you. Not only that, how can I can't judge too much because we're all mixed with something at the
Right.
end of the day. But I definitely grew up. I didn't see color. I saw, the way somebody acted, their integrity, their character, their personality. That's what I saw, and till this day, that's all I see.
That's wonderful. I can definitely see that in you. You seem to be a
Hmm.
very understanding, empathetic person. And
Hmm.
so, unfortunately, that does take a strong person these days.
Yes,
There's a
it
lot
does.
of backwardsness lately. So, it's nice to hear that you're, open to that and a strong person because of it. And so, going from William Fleming, you went on to Emory and Henry and started playing basketball. Have you been athletic your whole life? Was that something you
I
wanted to do?
have.
Yeah?
I actually wanted to be a cheerleader.
Oh,
I went through this stage where I was so girly and prissy, and then
that's
I
kind of
developed.
a.
I became a tomboy,
Yeah.
and I but I still had my girly ways. Like people didn't know my favorite color was pink at the time because I was just so tomboyish. I grew up with a lot of boy cousins, and even my girl cousins. We all were very, tomboyish, and so with that, it helped me not necessarily fight for stuff, but it made me compete.
Yeah.
I had a competitive lifestyle, whether it was making sure I read the fastest, I finished the fastest in the race, I got this first. It helped me in life, but to the point that it was always everything's not a race, it's not a competition. So I definitely think it helped and hurt me in some aspect.
Right. And it's definitely a good motivator. You learn a lot of
Hmm.
team building skills, a lot of strength building
Definitely.
skills. And you mentioned it, it can sometimes be a setback because you start wanting to compete even with yourself.
Hmm.
Would you say as you've gotten older, have you started to understand more about that and like being able to set your expectations and what you think?
I definitely have. I have definitely used it more in a more healthier way where I set those goals, competing with myself, whether it's a weight loss challenge or the way I eat, my spending habits, how I budget money, how I treat people, or how, I am in friendships or relationships. So I definitely hold myself to a higher standard or put myself on a pedestal where I want to show you either, you can do this to help motivate you or show you that you have a friend, or you always will have somebody that takes care of you, helps you, and loves you the way I want to be loved or treated. You know what I'm saying? So I make sure I have those characteristics, or I show people, the good
Right.
in life.
Well, and that's always something good that we want to focus on when we're thinking about building our careers is you want to be in a position where you're comfortable with new people, new challenges, and it sounds like you're a very hard worker and motivated, and so you're ready for those new challenges. And
Yeah.
so, going on from Emory and Henry to Ferrum, you moved on to social worker into
Social work.
psychology. What made you
Hmm.
think of that?
So with the social work, when I was at Emory and Henry, I remember my academic advisor. He had a social work degree, and we talked and we talked, and I still was undecided when I left Emory and Henry. When I got to FAM, I met my academic advisor. She had a social work degree, and just talking to her and remembering my academic advisor at Emory, um, just what they said, what they talked about, what they showed me, I was like, I would love to pursue social work. Just knowing it kind of related to my background, helping people, taking care of people, fighting for people, making sure it's a positive that comes out of the negative, whether it's poverty, struggling, trying to make it in life, but knowing there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm there to help them.
Right. And so you're talking about your interest in taking care of people. What kind of jobs have you had in the past, and have they been related to helping people? Would you say that's one of your primary focuses in a job?
Even as a young child, going to church, I helped out in the nursery. As
Okay.
an athlete, I helped out with camps, working with the youth. Excuse me. Growing up, after I graduated from college, I was a social worker. I was worked with Child Protective Services, so I worked with the youth as well. When I ended up quitting that job, I moved into the school system, working with elementary school kids. And now what I do, I'm a prevention specialist, and I go into elementary, middle, and high schools, and I teach about prevention strategies, whether it's drugs, uh, alcohol, mental health, suicide. I encourage and I teach them about preventive ways. Not only that, being that extra person to talk to, that extra person to help counsel or ensure they're okay.
Right. And going back, you've been a team member through your athletic years and being a deacon's
Mm-hmm.
daughter. And would you say that that plays into your role as a preventative specialist and like how you take into them and
Mm-hmm.
move them along?
I definitely think it has because I'm heavy. I'll tell them, I've been there, I've done that, and I love to give back and show people, whether you started doing this at this age, you can always change. There's always an opportunity to be better, and don't dwell on, the past or those high standards. Where, like I said, growing up, I was a deacon's daughter, I was a coach's daughter. I had high standards, and it's like I couldn't do anything without being looked at or being under a magnifying glass. So it's like stop caring about what people think.
Right.
Take care of you. Make sure you're straight. Because at the end of the day, people are going to talk about you regardless. So making sure those kids know if you messed up, got kicked out off the team, got kicked out of school, there's still a hope. There's still hope, and there's still a chance for you to beat the odds.
Yeah, that is definitely what I would say too. You know, you always want to approach each challenge with a new, fresh thought and not linger on things. Speaking of which, you've mentioned your high expectations as one of your challenges in life. Would you say you have any other challenges through your high school and college career, and even now through your work career that would have possibly changed, or you've moved past, or still dealing
I
with?
think honestly, just stuff from my past that I have allowed to, linger on. I haven't forgiven myself for, or haven't, took not necessarily took accountability, but just said I did this, but I'm not. That's not me. Getting away from that person I was in college. Making sure people, oh, I remember when you did this, and it's like that's what I used to do. Not only that, I've always been the counselor friend. All my friends, family members know to come to me for advice, and so allowing that time to tell them, who can I talk to? You're always not necessarily problem dumping, but I allow that a lot from people, and it's like at the end of the day, when I go to sleep at night, it's just me. I mean, I can talk to my family, I can talk to my parents, but I take all their problems and mine and I just sit on them.
Hmm.
And it's like just being able to say, enough's enough and telling people no. I finally learned that at work with friendships, relationships, church. No, enough is enough and no. And I feel good. I'm okay. I do it respectful, but it's like I'm entitled to say no to
So,
protect me.
yeah, definitely. So you would say by now you've gotten a lot more mature in that respect, in
Mm-hmm.
that you're able to say
Yeah.
no, you're able to compartmentalize and put
Mm-hmm.
things where you want to put them,
Yeah.
and not necessarily. It's still a struggle bringing home
Mm-hmm.
emotions, and that it can be a
Definitely.
struggle for everyone, especially in the field that you're interested in.
Definitely.
Speaking of which, do you feel like going into a career like that may still be a challenge for you, or is that something you see yourself getting better at as you go along?
Mm-hmm. Definitely as I further my education, and learn different things, new skills, new trainings, or just new things, being new knowledge and wisdom, just knowing that's my purpose. I know that's my purpose and my passion in life, and I find peace in it. Helping people, helping the youth, because that's our future. And I know I always, growing up, you always wanted a certain person or wanted this and that, and you never got it. So I want to be that person that they can have or know I'm doing my job, and my younger self will be proud.
Right. And I think that takes a special kind of person. You really got to know that you're going into this situation and it might be heavy
Mm-hmm.
and you got to be prepared for that. But
Yeah.
based off what you've told me, you seem to be a very confident, strong person ready to take those responsibilities on. So
Mm-hmm.
we definitely have some good outlooks there. Along with that, what would you say are some of your other strengths or possibly skills that you've obtained along the way that have really helped you?
Definitely focusing and prioritizing my well being and mental health. At some point, I was always told pray about it, but it's like, what more can I do? And just finally learning that it's okay to get help. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to take care of myself, because not only does your mental can have problems, your physical, your emotional, and when you're all, when all that's going on, it can lead to depression. It can lead to other things. So it's like growing up in church, you got to pray, da da da, all this other stuff. But finally, having my parents and having, my family and friends to making sure, we're okay mentally,
Right.
and knowing, regardless if you pray and read this scripture, that it's okay to get help and it's okay to talk to us. And sometimes you got to put that religion to the side and just, are you okay today?
Right.
And just simple as that.
Well, and growing up, I think mental health was always stigmatized, and it's
Yes.
getting better day by day, but it certainly is still something
Because of
that
COVID.
exactly, literally,
COVID was traumatizing, but COVID opened doors for a lot of things that we needed to open our eyes and hearts to, I think.
right. Would you say, speaking of that, you're saying that you've kind of learned to appreciate your work-life balance. Are you
Mm-hmm.
saying that it's now, would you say you have a good work-life balance? Are you still working on it?
It's definitely way better than what it used to be. I definitely felt like I used to be not necessarily a doormat, but I was trying to impress people, or trying to do this and that. Not necessarily a yes man, but it got to the point where I never said no. And over time, people were like, "You need to say no. Learn to say no. Know your worth. Learn your purpose." And now finally, I feel like dealing with certain relationships in my past, I didn't know my worth at one point. And as I healed and grew and became more mature, and I started learning, I became better at dealing with, my work life, my social life, whatever, cutting it off, shutting it down. It's me time.
Right. And it is always, a process. It's not something that's going to
Mm-hmm.
happen overnight. It's something you got to learn with age. And
Definitely.
um, speaking of, how do you see yourself in about 5 to 10 years? Would you say you want to keep working on this work life balance? Do you
Mm-hmm.
have career goals, life expectations? What would you say?
Yeah. My goal has always been to become a school psychologist or a school counselor. I even thought about working on the clinical side or becoming an outpatient therapist. Working as a sports psychologist because I love sports. Just introducing my hobbies and my interests and skills with, my passion and my purpose, and being, combining them together see myself married with kids,
All right.
establishing, that family life, that ideal family, as well as my ideal career, being healthy and wealthy. I don't necessarily have to be rich. I feel like wealthiness comes from being at peace and having joy in life.
Right, totally. And, having that not expectation but that drive to have the
Mm-hmm.
family and the work life balance, would you say growing up seeing your father with that work life balance, being a religious man and
Yes.
working in the church, he really has taken his family and put them into his work. And so have
Yeah.
you learned now, how to balance that? And
Definitely. My parents, it would be what, 32 years married
oh
this
wow.
week. And they dated for 7, so they've been together about 39 years. So seeing them, watching them, that's like my role models. Like I have it in front of me, and I see it. I grew up watching it. Both of them are like my best friends. Like I have a great relationship with both my parents, and I'm close to both of them. Like literally, they're my best friends. So
That's
it's
so
like
wonderful.
having that. So it's like I want that for my kids or my grandkids, just going along in life. And even with my brother, we're close. I only have one sibling. It's him. I'm the baby, but we're like best friends too. We've always been two peas in a pod. So knowing I want that for my kids.
And so
So
you're
it's
saying,
that seeing that growing up and wanting that for myself.
right, so you're seeing that those influencers and you're
Mm-hmm.
saying that's what I want to model my life after.
Mm-hmm.
And 39 years together, I mean, that's a
Yeah.
amazing, strong
And that's like
relationship.
that's a dream of mine for
Yeah.
everybody. To make it that far with
And
somebody.
yeah, it's good that you have those people around you and those influences that you can look for.
Yeah.
Would you say there are any other big influences or inspirations that you pull from?
I definitely had some amazing grandmothers. They're no longer living. One died in 2012, one died in 2021. Just seeing strong women in my family, period. Wanting to make them proud, not necessarily being the most religious or the most, perfect person, but, you know, saying I did it or saying, I got to do things that they didn't get to do. Accomplishing those goals and just being a strong woman like I watched them be all these years.
Wow. Well, that is really great. Um, I got to tell you, from what you've told me and what I've seen today, you are a very strong, empathetic person. I can tell you're a hard worker and you are working for other people. You want the best for everyone, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. That is something rare and something that we need more of in this world. So it's great to hear. Um, what we want to do now with this, we want to take these interests and your career goals and everything, we want to pull them together to see what would be the best fit. You mentioned a couple routes being the school psychologist or a counselor or a sports psychologist. And so you have a general idea of where you want to be, but maybe we can fine tune it a little bit and see what's going to be the best fit for you. So
Okay.
we're going to start with I've got a few little tests. They're not the most fun, but they'll show you some interesting results, okay? So we're going to start with the Myers Briggs or the Big Five. Those are probably two that you may have heard about in school along the way. They're very popular. Basically, what these are going to do is just show us the core baseline of who Courtney is. What are your strengths, what kind of person you are, what your almost personality type is. Okay? And then we're going to take those interests and then we're going to move into a little more fine tune and to where it can affect your career. And we'll start with the Princeton Career Assessment Quiz. This is just a good one that takes any kind of interest that you have and funnels it into career options. I know some you do have interests already, but one that we might could help with is called the ONET Interest Profiler. This one, it shows you what you're already interested in, but may show stuff that you didn't think that you could be interested in and kind of brings it to the forefront. So now you've got a few more options that you can take into the Princeton review and see what you have there. And then finally is the Holland Code Quiz. This is going to be one where it takes all of your interests, your personality type, and your career fits and see which one is the best applicable for you. Which one is going to put you in the best place to succeed because at the end of the day, that's what we want. So we have options, and I think what we can plan to do is go through these tests, and then we'll get back together and we can discuss the results. And then we can start discussing other things that can help improve your career. Mental health that you mentioned before. We want to make sure that your work life balance is going well, not just the job. It's more than just about making money, it's about making you happy and successful. And so that's the main goal with all this. So I think what we've accomplished today is pretty good, and we'll get those test results and then come back and talk about them, all right?
All right.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.
Ooh,
Fingers crossed.
literally. Were you timing that by chance?
I was not.
Dang, I
I
wasn't
sucked.
either.
I don't think I was.